the Presidential Social Sector Summit is well underway in Boksburg. Government departments and civic organizations are expected to discuss, among other things, ways to bring people from rural communities into the economy. For more on the progress made so far, let's speak to Thulani Tshefuta from the NEDLAC community constituency. Joins us via our video link this morning. Thulani, it's great to see you. Thanks very much indeed for making time. Let me begin by just ascertaining from you which community you represent at NEDLAC and which interests you're driving there.
Well, good morning, Ayanda, and good morning to the viewers. And thank you very much for the opportunity of this conversation about this important social sector summit. The community constituency is another name basically for civil society at NEDLAC. NEDLAC is a platform of social dialogue that is composed of 4 social partners, 1 being government, 2 being business or employers, 3 being organized trade unions as labor, and 4thly being us under civil society. And civil society representation at NEDLAC cuts across various sectors of civil society mobilization, including youth, women, persons with disability, the civics, traditional leaders, faith-based organizations, a whole host of organizations. And so that is the sector that we lead and represent.
Yeah, and as you've pointed out, I mean, it's quite widespread. And what I'm trying to ascertain is what kind of conversations you are driving at that table. I mean, are you able to speak to us more specifically about who exactly you represent there?
Well, the type of issues that we drive are primarily issues that can be defined as the plight of these sectors of civil society and communities that we represent. And so when we say community constituency, we can't pin it down and say, as I come from Craddock in the Eastern Cape, I therefore represent the community of Craddock. So we broadly represent the community of civil society formations in the platform of social dialogue. And naturally, the issues that we drive and champion and advocate for are those issues that seek to ameliorate the plight of those interests that we represent.
All right.
And specifically, if we can get into issues relating even to this social sector summit, our interest would be that when we talk about attracting investments, growing the economy, leading to job creation, our interest is that all those activities must begin to rise with the people at their center for the benefit of the people.
I'll tell you why I'm pushing this line of question, Thulani. Often people don't feel represented at, that level, and I guess it's raised questions around who the representatives are and who exactly it is that they speak on behalf of. This is me just trying to clarify that. I mean, is there an organization perhaps that is looking to you whilst you're there to really champion their needs?
Well, the community constituency on its own is an organized formation which can be characterized as an apex network of these civil society organizations. And that is the form in which we then begin to source mandate and disperse accountability. Over and above that, we can put it very clearly that we also undertake an annual exercise of going across the country in all 9 provinces, again to source the very same mandate of the issues that we speak to in the platform of NEDLAC, and secondly, to also report on the progress of the work that we do at NEDLAC. Probably as a bit of insight into the design of the work of how structures of NEDLAC are composed is that my responsibility is the overall convener. As the overall convener, I cannot be pegged into saying, for example, I directly represent the South African Youth Council, which is an apex of youth formations. Equally, I cannot be pegged to be representing the civics, which is represented by SANCO. When you get elected as the overall convener, you discharge you cease to represent any sectoral organization that you were leading and begin to lead all sectors of civil society equally. And so that is the position and the role that I lead currently.
So who exactly would you report to then?
Excuse me?
Who would you report to about, the kind of discussions that you're having?
The first line of reporting is these sectoral organizations that I mentioned. Firstly, the first sector is the South African Youth Council representing the youth sector. There is no bigger network than that of national youth organizations on the youth sector, and hence they are appropriated as the youth sector at NEDLAC. Secondly, you have formations of women organized under Women's National Coalition. Thirdly, you have the disability sector organized under the Organization of Disabled People South Africa. You have civics led by SANCO. You have campaigns and new forms of organizing organized under the Financial Sector Coalition campaign. You have cooperatives organized under SANACO. You have NPOs and NGOs organized under SANGOCO, and even the Alliance of NPOs. You have faith-based organizations. You have traditional leaders organized under SANCO, and even issue-based organizations. And so that is the first layer of a network of apex bodies that represent sectoral interests that we account to as the overall convener. And beyond that, the organizations that constitute those national networks and their members become our secondary point of accountability. And we also open ourselves up to the broadest section of civil society, not only to organizations that are represented at NEDLAC, like I said, in platforms where we go to provinces and invite any organization that is available and able to interact with us at that level.
All right. I think it's important to speak about this because often we speak about NEDLAC constituencies in broad terms and people don't really understand what that means. Are you happy with how the summit has progressed so far? Taking into consideration, of course, it's a short summit with really quite vast challenges.
Ayanda, before we get to that question, I think we must make this point that we appreciate the discussion that you started with because there are people who represent their jackets who have given themselves a God-given right to be in every platform where civil society should be represented, when they literally have no constituency and all they thrive on is to register organization with their girlfriends and boyfriends and claim to be representing civil society. And so we are very happy to be subjected to that type of discussion so that genuinely we are indeed seen to be representing that voice of civil society. And when we say that, again, we want to emphasize that we do not make a claim that all that there is at NEDLAC is everything of civil society. In the new design of NEDLAC, we are the ones who are going out to other civil society organizations, inviting them to come join us so that we can strengthen the voice of civil society and communities in the platform of social dialogue being NEDLAC. And when it comes to this social sector summit, this is a summit that in the bilateral engagement that we have with government, we presented this request to the president. And when he acceded to it, he agreed and announced it in the State of the Nation address, firstly in 2018, that it is a summit that will take place in 2020. And of course, COVID happened, it could not happen. And when it was announced, it was indicated that firstly, it is going to acknowledge and appreciate the work that is done by civil society in communities. But secondly, it is going to produce a social compact that will develop engagements or collaborations between government and civil society in serving communities. And we have been off to a great start of this summit, because in the opening session we received an address from Minister Zulu of Social Development and Minister of Employment and Labour, and civil society representatives who have been setting the agenda of what it is that we have to collaborate around in 7 communities.
All right, Thulani, thanks very much indeed for ventilating these issues for us. Really do appreciate your time. Thulani Tshefuta is from the NEDLAC community constituency. Once again, thanks very much indeed.